What if the shadows you saw in the trees weren't shadows at all? What if they moved, even when the wind didn't blow, and stared back with nothing for eyes? In the deep bushland of the Marlborough Sounds, New Zealand, 3 hikers entered for a weekend getaway. Only 2 came back, and the one who returned whole refuses to speak a word of what they saw. But here's what we do know. One of them kept a voice recorder, and it didn't stop recording, even after the screaming. They were just friends looking for a break, an escape from the weight of the world. Riley, 27, outgoing, cynical, always ready with a joke. Tamsin, 31, quiet, intuitive, never believed in ghosts. And Jordan just turned 25, the empath, the one who kept seeing things that weren't there. They set up camp at the base of Mahau Sound. Thick canopy above, moss underfoot, a silence so complete it didn't feel natural. "There's no birdsong," Jordan whispered that first night. "I don't like it." The first sign came at 3:14 a.m. The recorder picked up the soft crunch of twigs. Not near the tent, but circling. No voices, no footsteps, just a scraping. Then Jordan's voice. "I saw it again. By the tree line." Tamsin. "What?" Jordan. "It's tall. Thin. Too thin. Like, just lines." Riley. "Go back to sleep. You're dreaming." But the next morning, they found long, black marks on the trees surrounding their camp. No one had left the tent, but the recorder kept going. Flashback 9 months earlier. Jordan had gotten lost while hiking solo in Tongariro. Rescuers found them 18 hours later. Shivering, eyes wide, repeating one phrase, "They're made of smoke and bone." But no one ever asked what that meant. Not until now. By nightfall on day 2, they tried to laugh it off. But Riley's joke stopped, because the marks had doubled. And they weren't just vertical now. They were intertwining. Jordan stood in the middle of the clearing, head tilted, breathing fast. "There's more of them now." Tamsin grabbed their arm. "Who?" "There's no one here." And then, the static started. Faint, crawling, like a whisper coated in dust. And in it 3 slow clicks, like something tapping bone on bone. The recorder picks up Jordan saying, "Do not go beyond the trees." Tamsin. "Why?" Jordan, trembling. "That's where they wait." The next morning, Tamsin was gone. No sign of a struggle. No prints. Only a single long black line, scratched across her sleeping bag. Riley screamed. Jordan didn't. They just looked toward the tree line and whispered, "They've marked her." Started with a scratch. Just one. Drawn across fabric like a warning etched in silence. By morning, Tamsin was gone. Not a sound. Not a struggle. Just that single black line across her sleeping bag. Thin, jagged, as if made by something with no hands. And the forest? It was quiet again. Too quiet. Like it had fed. Riley lost it first. He tore through the brush barefoot, calling her name, screaming like it would matter, like the trees were going to give her back. But Jordan didn't move. They just stared at the mark, whispering to themselves, "It's starting again." A year ago, Jordan in therapy, sitting rigid in a gray chair, refusing eye contact. "I know what I saw," they told the counselor. There were 3 of them, thin, like shadows that forgot how to be human. They don't blink. They just watch. But no one believed them, because you don't lock someone away, just for seeing shapes in the dark. Do you? Back in the bush. Riley eventually came back. His eyes weren't right, wider, but emptier. "I followed her trail," he said. There was no trail. Then he held out something wrapped in his hoodie. A voice recorder. Not theirs. Not the one Jordan brought. This one was old, covered in dried mud, with a cracked label that read, "There. Sound Survey. 1981. No batteries." But it still played. The sound was horrific. First static. Then crying. A woman's voice, sharp with panic. "He's not Riley," it said. "He's wearing Riley's face." Then silence. Then 3 clicks. Tap, tap, tap. Bone on bone. Jordan dropped it. Riley just stared at them. Not confused. Not angry. Blank. You shouldn't have brought that here, he whispered. His voice, wrong. Like something trying to remember how a voice should sound. They didn't sleep that night. Not after what they saw just after dusk. Across the clearing, by the edge of the trees, a figure. Tall, thin, black. His joints bent backward. His body, a sketch come alive. But the worst part? It didn't walk. Twitched forward. Like a stop-motion film breaking into real life. And Jordan whispered, "That's not the one I saw before. There's more now." Jordan, age 12. Lost on a school trip in the Wapua forest. 6 hours missing. Found sitting beside a broken tree stump, smiling, repeating one line under their breath. They speak in clicks, not words. The doctors called it shock. Jordan called it reminder. The recorder clicked back on, even with no power. More static. Then a woman's voice again, fading in. "Don't look at them. They see through your eyes." Then screaming. Not hers, Riley's. But the scream was from decades ago. From inside the old tape. Jordan dropped to their knees, hands over ears, rocking, whispering a phrase in Maori, one they didn't even know they knew. Kia tapato ki te tangata teratera. Beware the stick man. That night, Jordan carved a circle in the dirt, laid stones at its edge. "Don't step out of this," they told Riley. "It's the only place they won't mimic." But Riley was already drifting, already distant. He looked up, smiled strangely, and said, "Tamsin's fine. She's with them now." Then he stepped beyond the circle and vanished into the dark. The last thing the recorder caught that night wasn't footsteps, wasn't a scream, wasn't Riley's voice. It was a whisper. Close, too close, right beside the mic. "You brought them back. What if the thing pretending to be your friend isn't pretending anymore? What if it became them? Voice, memories, smile, but left just one thing out. The soul?" Riley walked into the trees and didn't come back. Not that night. Not at sunrise. Not when Jordan screamed his name until their throat broke raw. Only silence replied. And the trees? They stood like witnesses. Still, patient, watching. Jordan didn't pack up camp. Didn't run. Didn't cry. They just listened to the old recorder. Over and over. Even when it looped the same 30 seconds of static. And then those same 3 clicks. Tap, tap, tap. Each time closer. 3 days before the trip, Jordan had gotten a message. An email. Subject line. TR unit. Mahau recovery requested. No sender. No body text. Just a corrupted audio file attached. When they played it, it was all static. Until, at the end, a voice said one thing. They never left the bush. Jordan deleted it. Tried to forget. Tried to be normal. But something inside them knew. The trip wasn't just a getaway. It was a return. Alone now, Jordan wandered farther than they meant to. Eyes wide, arms stiff at their sides. They didn't feel the branches cut their skin. Didn't feel the cold biting their fingers. Because ahead, the trees changed. Blackened. Scorched. Twisted in angles trees aren't meant to bend. And on the trunk of one, etched deep like old wounds, a mark. Not a name. Not words. Just a figure. Stick-like. Arms too long. Head oval and empty. 7 scratches where the mouth should be. They dropped the recorder. Because they heard something else. Footsteps. But they didn't sound like walking. They sounded like something dragging. Leaves crunched. Sticks cracked. And underneath it all, that clicking. Tap, tap, pause. Tap, tap, faster. Jordan spun. No one. Nothing. And then, a whisper behind them. "You saw us once. Now you see us again." They ran. But the forest doesn't let you run. Not here. The air got thicker. Each breath heavy. Like breathing in dust soaked in grief. Jordan fell. Knees hitting moss-covered stone. Hands sinking into something wet. It wasn't mud. It was dark. Sticky. Warm. They looked down. A backpack, half buried, covered in moss and old blood. Inside it, a journal, stamped on the first page. TR. Sound Unit, Field Log. 1981. Mahau bush. Jordan opened to the middle, fingers trembling. The ink was smeared in parts. But the final entry was clear. Day 6. Simmons disappeared last night. Jackson screamed until he bit his own tongue off. There's something in the clearing. Tall, still, watching. Clicked at me. I clicked back. God forgive me. I think that's how it finds you. They dropped the journal. Heart pounding. Mouth dry. The trees groaned. The air felt like it was pressing in. And then, Jordan saw it. Across the ravine. Not one. 7. 7 black stick-like forms. Perfectly still. No faces. No features. But unmistakably aware. They didn't walk. They shifted. One blink. And they were closer. Another, closer still. Jordan ran. Back at camp. Nothing was the same. Their tent was gone. Burnt to ash. No fire marks. Just dissolved. Only the stones from the circle remained. Arranged now in a symbol. The same one carved into the tree. The old recorder was lying beside it. But now, it was playing something new. Jordan leaned down to listen. And what came through was Riley's voice. Calm. Even. Soft. They showed me everything, Jay. What they really are. What you are. You should have stayed away. Then a pause. Then the voice changed. Lower. Inhuman. As if echoing through bones. You brought the echo back. And now we wear your name. Jordan didn't scream. Didn't cry. They did something else. They picked up the journal. Tore a page from it. And began to write. Because they remembered what the log had said. I clicked back. And Jordan, they weren't going to run anymore. What if the evil you're running from is made of memory? What if it doesn't need a body? Just the space between thoughts. To slip in? Jordan wasn't running anymore. Not from the blackstick figures. Not from the missing friends. Not from the bush that seemed to shift every time they looked away. They had the journal now. The one left behind by the TR Sound Unit in 1981. And it was more than notes. It was a confession. They sat in the center of the burned-out camp. Mud on their hands, dried blood on their boots, and pages fluttering in their lap. The recorder clicked on again. This time without pressing anything. Played a voice they hadn't heard before. Older. Male. Ragged with fear. Field entry 12. Simmons is dead. Jackson's gone. We've breached something we can't see. They don't move like us. They don't breathe. They echo. Then silence. And Jordan whispered to no one. Echoes of what? Winter. 1981. The TR Sound Survey wasn't looking for wildlife. They were investigating patterns. Locals had reported sound anomalies in Mahau for years. High-frequency clicks. Voices when no one was there. People waking up with blood behind their ears. And no memory of what they'd heard. The team, 5 researchers. Skeptics. Scientists. But the logs turned darker by day 4. They're mimicking our calls now. When I whistled, it whistled back. But it came from above. Like it was in the trees. And then the drawings began. Crude stick figures. But always more of them. First 1. Then 3. Then 7. Always in different shapes. But the same intent. Watching. Waiting. Learning. Back in the present. Jordan read the final log aloud. They live between seconds. If you blink too slowly, they get in. Jordan blinked. Fast. Then slow. And in the pause between the two, they heard it. A breath. Right beside their ear. They turned nothing. But then, the bush shimmered. Not visually, audibly. Like sound waves warping the air itself. And something stepped through. Not a man. Not an animal. But an outline. Tall. Slender. Like its body had been drawn with a shaky hand. And erased. Then drawn again. It didn't lunge. It didn't run. It stood. Silent. Observing. Until Jordan whispered, "You're one of them." The figure tilted its head. Not left or right. but diagonally, as if it didn't understand direction the way humans do. Then came the sound, so close Jordan felt it in their teeth. Click, 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 like bones being cracked underwater. Jordan backed into the burned circle, stared it down, heart thudding like a warning drum. Then, another voice, a child's voice. Play with us. Jordan spun. No one there. Then again, but behind them now. You said you wouldn't leave again. Flashback. Jordan, age 8. Their cousin Isla vanished in the Marlborough bush during a family trip. Jordan was the last to see her. She'd said something odd that day. I can hear the trees clicking. What do they say? They say I'm the right shape now. They thought it was just a game. They never spoke of it again. Until now. Jordan stumbled backward and hit something solid. A tree. Only, it wasn't there before. And it wasn't a tree. It was tall, black, textured like charcoal, and breathing, not visibly, not rhythmically, but vibrating, like a lung filled with wind and rage. The recorder clicked again. Only this time, it played Jordan's voice. I remember now. I was here, before Isla vanished. I followed the sound and I saw them, but they didn't want me. They wanted her. And then, they've changed their minds. The creature behind them clicked. Once, then twice, then a chorus. 7 figures, emerging from the trees, flickering in and out like candlelight in a broken mirror. Their movements jerky, their presence wrong, their shapes incomplete. One missing an arm, another with limbs too many, one that kept shifting height. They surrounded the circle, but didn't step in. Not yet. Jordan shouted into the recorder. Why me? What do you want? The tape hissed, and a voice, deeper than earth, older than sound itself, answered, to be remembered, to wear shape again, to echo through blood. Suddenly, a rustle behind them, not a creature, a human, bare feet, torn jeans, hair matted with leaves. Tamsin, eyes blank, pale, smiling, but not the way Tamsin smiled. This one was wider, pulled too far, like her face was trying to remember how muscles work. She stepped toward Jordan and whispered, they let me come back, if I bring you in. What if the person you lost came back, but brought something with them? Something that watched through their eyes and whispered through their smile. Tamsin stood in front of Jordan, barefoot on the cold earth, her face stretched into a smile too wide to be real. She was pale, her lips were dry, her pupils blown wide open, like she'd stared too long into something no one was meant to see. And yet, she spoke Jordan's name, as if nothing had happened. I found the others, Jay. They're not what you think. They just want to be seen. Jordan backed away, but behind them, branches shifted, figures swayed. The stick men, 7 tall silhouettes, their limbs long and trembling, like broken antennas picking up something invisible. They didn't move forward. Not yet. They didn't have to. Tamsin stepped closer, her voice light, like a lullaby soaked in static. Do you remember the game we used to play in the dark? Don't blink. Don't speak. Don't let them in. Jordan shook their head. You're not her. Tamsin's smile didn't change, but her voice cracked. She begged. She screamed. They don't like screams. Then a whisper, so quiet it felt like it crawled under the skin. They hollowed her out, and now I fit. Flashback. 4 years ago, Jordan and Tamsin on a hiking trip. Just the two of them. Tamsin had fallen asleep by the river. Jordan had wandered up the hill and found something odd. 3 black stones, arranged in a spiral. And beside it, a humming sound. Faint, but deep, not mechanical, organic. Jordan had touched one of the stones. And ever since, they dreamed of tall shapes, reaching through the trees. They never told Tamsin. Now Jordan stared at her, or what wore her skin. She was breathing, but wrong. Too slowly, like a rhythm not meant for humans. Jordan clutched the field journal, held it like a weapon, flipped to the last usable page and found a scrawled phrase. Asterisk, don't answer when they call. They learn your voice. They make it theirs. Tamsin held out her hand and whispered, "If you step outside the circle, you'll hear them all." The bush remembers the first scream, and it wants yours to be the last. The recorder, still playing, clicked violently. A screech of audio distortion. Then Riley's voice again. Only now, it glitched. "She's with them, Jordan. You brought them. You're the one who left the door open." The sound was layered. Jordan heard multiple voices. Riley's, Tamsin's, even their own voice, echoing and overlapping like a choir sung through broken glass. Then the clicking. Louder. Faster. Close. 7 clicks. Then silence. And one final sentence. "Step out, or we'll come in." Jordan looked down at the stone circle. Cracked in 3 places now. Smoke curling from the edges. The symbols shifting. Not physically, but in memory. Like the bush itself was rearranging the rules. They spoke aloud. Not to the recorder, but to whatever was listening. "Why me?" The wind died. Everything froze. And then, a voice. But not external. Inside. Jordan's own voice. Answering from the inside out. "Because you remember. And memory is a door." They dropped to their knees. Palms pressed against the soil. Heard it beneath their skin. Breathing. A slow, low pulse. The bush was alive. It had always been alive. But not in the way people meant. It wasn't just roots and leaves. It was a vault. A container for something old. Something forgotten. Until Jordan came back. Tamsin knelt in front of them. Still smiling. Still wearing her face like a mask. "It hurts at first," she whispered. "But after a while, you forget which parts were ever really yours." Jordan's eyes stung. They weren't crying. It was something else. Something behind their eyes, pressing forward. The bush wanted in. And it was starting with memory. They dug into the pack. The one they found by the scorched trees. Pulled out the one thing the TR unit had hidden. An unlabeled cassette, taped shut, and scribbled across it in charcoal. "Don't listen unless you mean to stay." They stared at it. Then at Tamsin. Then at the stick men. Now closer, surrounding the camp. Still not entering. Waiting. They slid the tape into the recorder. Pressed play. It hissed. Clicked. Distorted. Then a voice. One Jordan had never heard before. Older. Female. Tired. "We didn't find them. We freed them. They were buried deep in memory, and we dug too far. If you're hearing this, it means you woke them again." The tape cut out, but something was still speaking, even with it off. In the trees, in the soil, in Jordan's chest. And then came the voice. One that wasn't mimicked, wasn't borrowed. It was ancient, heavy, final. "Bring us a name, or give us yours." Tamsin reached out again, but this time, her smile cracked, split up her cheeks like glass under pressure. She said nothing, just opened her mouth, and a black click came out, a sound so dense it dropped birds from the trees. Jordan screamed, not out of fear, but rage, grief, and something worse, recognition, because suddenly, they remembered what happened to Isla, what happened to them in the forest years ago, the game they played, the rules they broke, the name they gave back then, and the one they now had to give, again. What if the thing that cursed you wasn't a ghost, but a promise you forgot you made? What if the only way to survive was to remember the lie that saved you once, and speak it again? Jordan knelt in the ash of the ruined camp. The circle was broken, the symbols were wrong, and the stick men, they were inching closer, no longer waiting, no longer shadows. They'd taken form, skeletal frames of darkness, arms too long, elbows bending both ways. They moved like marionettes without strings, twitching, stuttering, shifting, not walking, becoming. Tamsin stood beside them, still smiling, still not blinking, still speaking in that voice that sounded like her, but wasn't hers anymore. They only need one name, Jay. You gave it to them once. Give it again, or give them your real one. Summer. Years ago. Jordan and Isla. Two kids running through the bush, laughing, playing a game they made up on the spot. "Don't look behind you," Isla had said. "If you do, they pick your shape." Jordan looked anyway, just for a second, saw something tall, still, black, standing between the trees. And when they turned back, Isla was staring at them like she didn't know who they were anymore. Back to now. Jordan remembered something small, a chant, childish, nonsense, but sticky. "Take the name I made from bark, not the one I use at dark." They whispered it. The forest shivered. Not the trees, the air between them, like it had skin. Tamsin's voice shifted, cracked, lower now. "Say the name, or we choose one for you." Jordan clutched the journal again, flipped pages with shaking fingers. On a back cover, scratched, faded, barely legible. "One name given seals the ground. One name stolen opens it." They dropped the book, heart hammering. It wasn't just about survival. It never was. It was about who remembers and who's forgotten. The stick men weren't spirits. They were echoes of names with no bodies, lost in time, erased, hungry. The recorder hissed again, played a new voice. Not Tamsin, not Riley, not anyone human. Slow, growling, ancient. "Names are doors. Yours is wide open." Then came the worst sound of all. Footsteps, but not on the forest floor. Behind Jordan, inside the circle. They turned, and Riley was standing there. Except not Riley. His jaw hung loose, like it wasn't connected properly. His skin was pale, transparent in places, and something behind his eyes kept blinking. From the inside, he spoke, and when he did, 3 voices came out at once. "You called them when you were 8, and they never left." Jordan dropped to the ground, fingers digging into the dirt. They were losing the memory. It was slipping, not just fading, but being erased, like something was editing them from themselves. They whispered a name. "Isla." Everything froze. Tamsin stopped moving. The stick men paused mid-step. Riley's face cracked. The trees went silent. Even the wind stopped. Because that name had weight. It was a memory Jordan had buried so deep, even the forest had forgotten it. Until now, Tamsin's face twitched, and for a second, just a second, her eyes cleared. She blinked. The first real blink. "Jordan? Where am I?" Then the smile snapped back into place, like rubber stretched over bone. Riley stepped closer. The ground beneath his feet whimpered. He leaned down, face inches from Jordan's, and whispered, "That's the name. That's the one they've waited for. You carried her memory, and they've fed on it." Jordan stood, chest heaving, tears now running down their face. Not from fear, from guilt. "I left her," they said aloud. "I ran. I heard her scream, but I didn't go back." Tamsin's voice replied, "They didn't want her scream. They wanted what came after." The recorder sparked, glitched, crackled. Then a final line played. "One must stay forgotten, or all will remember." Jordan understood. This was the trade. They could leave, but only if they gave something back. Not a life, not a soul, a name, a true one, their own. They stepped outside the circle. Slow, deliberate. The stick men twitched. Not toward them, but into them. Shadows slipped beneath their skin, cold like winter breath under fingernails. Tamsin reached out, touched their hand, and said, "Give them Isla, or give them yourself." Jordan whispered, "I'll give you mine, but not the one they gave me." They dug into memory, the deepest place, found a name no one had spoken since birth, and spoke it aloud. 7 syllables, not in English, older. The name the bush once knew them by. The forest screamed. Branches cracked. The stick men shrieked, a sound like teeth breaking. And the air split, like a zipper tearing open the sky. Jordan fell to their knees, chest on fire, lungs filled with ash. And the ground beneath them swallowed the name. Then, silence. Tamsin collapsed. Riley blinked. and the stick men were gone. No twitch, no fade, just gone, like they were never there. Jordan opened their eyes, and for the first time since the trip began, the trees looked like trees. The air was still, and the recorder was off. No clicks, no whispers, just quiet. But something was wrong. Tamsin sat up, stared at them. "Who are you?" Jordan tried to speak, but when they opened their mouth, no sound came out. They couldn't remember their own name, not the new one, not the old one, not any. They had survived, but the price had been paid. What if you saved everyone, but lost the one thing they'd never get back? Yourself. Jordan sat in the clearing, alone. The circle was ash. The tape recorder was silent. Tamsin was breathing steadily now, curled beneath a blanket of leaves. Her eyes closed. She didn't remember what happened. Not the stick men. Not Riley. Not himself. She didn't even remember the trip. Just a gap. Like someone had cut out days of her life with scissors. And Jordan? He remembered everything. Except the one thing that made him him. His name. Gone. Erased like chalk from a board. And it left a hollow behind. Cold. Deep. Endless. Riley wasn't there. They never found his body. Only his shoes, placed side by side at the edge of the ravine, as if he stepped out of them and walked into nothing. The moment Jordan said the ancient name, not his given name, not the one he used at school, but something else, something that belonged to the forest. He hadn't known it until he said it. But the moment the final syllable left his lips, he felt something tear away. A tether, a thread, memory, gone. As if the forest reached inside and pulled his name from the roots of his mind and planted it somewhere else. Days passed. Search and rescue arrived. Found Tamsin. Delirious. She said Jordan was a hiker who helped her. Didn't know his last name. Didn't know where he'd come from. Didn't ask. They never questioned him. He gave them a fake name. They wrote it down. It meant nothing, because he meant nothing now. He was a vessel without a label, a witness without a signature, and the forest let him leave. Back in town, everything felt wrong. Fluorescent lights were too bright, people too loud, rooms too small. He would stare at a mirror, not expecting a reflection. He didn't recognize the face, and sometimes, in his peripheral vision, he would see one of them, just for a second, a twitching limb, a joint bent backward, a shadow with too much awareness, then gone. He stopped sleeping. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the clicks, not loud, not immediate, but slow, distant, getting closer. He started drawing them, in notebooks, on napkins, on the walls of his tiny apartment. Stick men, 7, always watching, one with a mouth too wide, one with no head, one missing the bottom half of its body, as if it was never finished. They stared back at him like memories he wasn't allowed to have. And then, he found the old tape recorder, still in his pack, though he didn't remember putting it there. He pressed play. Static. Then the voice. His own. "If you're hearing this, I gave them something. I think it was me." One final memory. Jordan at age 8, walking backward out of the bush. A girl's voice behind him, faint, crying, "Jay, don't leave me. Don't forget my name." And a whisper beside his ear, "If you turn around, we'll take you instead." He ran. He never looked back. Now, on a cold July night, in a silent apartment, Jordan sat cross-legged in front of the tape recorder, a candle flickering, and he asked the air, "Was it me all along? Did I start this?" The candle flickered, then hissed, and the recorder, without pressing anything, clicked on. This time the voice wasn't his. It was Isla. "You remembered. That's all they ever needed. But they're not done. They just needed one of us to carry the story. Now it's you." The air turned cold. He could see his breath. And on the wall, drawn in condensation, a figure, a stick man, not one of the 7, a new one, slightly shorter, head tilted forward, one hand raised, as if in warning, or greeting. Jordan stood up, walked to the wall, touched the glass. The figure shimmered, and he whispered to the thing behind the glass, "I don't remember who I was, but I remember you." The figure clicked. Once, twice, 7 times. And then, silence. Outside, in the wind that rushed through the trees miles away, in forests untouched by fire or footprints, something shifted. The names were still there, waiting, listening, whispering, because the stick men, they were never chasing you. They were following memory. Do you think this was a ghost? Or something worse? Comment below. And if you want more stories that live in the space between fear and memory, subscribe to the Veil of Secret.